I'll be adding the people in the lobby while you give the welcome.
Okay. So good evening, everyone, or I should say good afternoon or good morning for some of you. On behalf of the International Training Center, I wish you a warm welcome to our webinar, Become a Master of Science in the Heart of Europe. I'd like to wish you a welcome as well on behalf of our team leader, Mr. Wim Hoste, who is traveling at this very moment. But he would have loved to welcome you in person. Unfortunately, it's not possible. We're happy that we could gather such a diverse group of students for this webinar, people from Africa, Asia, Europe, North and Latin America, and even Oceania are present today in the audience. If you would happen to have any question during the presentation, please add it in the chat, not in the Q&A, but in the chat application, and we will be happy to answer them in writing at first. At the end of the webinar, my colleague Jare will also answer your questions orally in a short Q&A session. So let's have a look on what we are going to talk about tonight. So first, we will share some things about our country, Belgium, and the city of Ghent with you. Then we run you through the master programs that we teach in Ghent and Belgium only. We also have programs with mobility involved that come later in the presentation. Then we offer you a testimonial of a former student of one of those programs. Then some words on Ghent University and the Faculty of Bioscience Engineering. Later on, my colleagues will talk about the Erasmus Mundus master programs and the scholarship opportunities that are combined with those. Then we offer another testimonial of a former student of one of those Erasmus Mundus programs, and then some words on the application procedure, the career paths of our alumni, and as mentioned, the Q&A at the end of the session. So let's start about Belgium and the city of Ghent. Belgium, located in the heart of Europe. So we're a kingdom. We have 11.5 million inhabitants. Okay, sorry, I was told that something went wrong with my presentation. So I'll try to fix this first. Can you see something now? Yeah, okay. So yeah, there was no picture showing that was very important so far. So let's get back to Belgium as a kingdom with 11.5 million inhabitants. Brussels is our capital. It's the capital of Belgium and of Europe, as we can say. We host the European Commission, European Council, NATO, and a lot of other international organizations. Belgium has three language communities: a Dutch-speaking, a French-speaking, and a German-speaking. Ghent, our city, is located in the north, in the Dutch-speaking part. None of this is really important in terms of studying at our faculty because all our programs are offered fully in English. Belgium in the heart of Europe, as you can see, our capital is very close to many other European capitals like Paris, London, Amsterdam, even Berlin. And many of our students like to travel to one or more of those capitals while they're staying in Ghent. Some of our well-known export products, yeah, as you might know, we have a whole series of beers brewed in Belgium. We're also quite famous for our chocolate varieties, and then maybe also for the Red Devils, who are actually playing at this very moment. I don't know how it's going in that game, but here they are. The city of Ghent. I think we can say it's quite a vibrant student city. It's a city of 250,000 inhabitants, which is much for some of you and very little for others of you. But what we can say is that 77,000 people of those are students. So that's actually 1 out of 3 of the inhabitants of Ghent is students. So I think we can legitimately say that it's a student city. Ghent is also paying attention to sustainable mobility. The city center, for example, is a walking area. We also have 2 million bikers per year at the bicycle path in front of our campus, for example. So the bike is very much used by students. Ghent is also a water-rich city, so it's nice to explore it by boat sometimes, so by kayak or by water taxis, for example, who are also a way of public transport in Ghent. Here you see some extra pictures to maybe get a bit of the Ghent vibe. The picture at the bottom is one of the Ghent Festival that's happens every year in July. And it's actually the biggest street festival of Europe. So you should come sometime. Okay, let's move on to some master programs in our portfolio. So the ones that are taught solely in Ghent and Belgium. The first one is the Master of Science in Nutrition and Food Systems. This program trains you actually to develop programs that can improve nutrition of populations. So it's not on the individual level, it's really on the population level that we're speaking. As we all know, some populations face hunger and malnutrition, whereas overweight and diet-related chronic diseases, for example, are present in others, mostly in developed and transforming economies. So using actually a better nutrition and food security as a starting point, this program wants to train you as a student to contribute to like sustainable development in this matter. This program was formerly known as Nutrition and Rural Development. Now it's called Nutrition and Food Systems, but actually it is very closely related to the former one. The difference is that the new program has slightly more focus on food systems than on rural development, but for most of it, it's actually equal. Then our Master of Science in Environmental Science and Technology. This program tackles actually the most pressing environmental issues of our times. It's important that it takes on a solutions-oriented approach. So it is not only about knowing and analyzing the issues, it's also about solving them. Generally speaking, you will learn as a student how to create a healthier living environment for all. In terms of prevention and remediation of pollution, in terms of preserving our ecosystems and sustainably using and reusing the planet's resources. Important in this master program is that it offers 5 majors that you can see on the slide. This actually allows you as a student to graduate on a topic that is very closely related to your own interest, I would say. The Master of Science in Food Technology, some keywords here are food science, food security in developing countries, food processing technologies, post-harvest handling, and food preservation technologies. This program is an inter-university one, so it's a cooperation between Ghent University and KU Leuven, which is another city in the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. If you would like to apply for this program, it is managed by KU Leuven. So we would refer you to the website of KU Leuven in order to do that. The Master of Science in Aquaculture. Why are we offering this program? Well, because aquaculture has, since actually decades, been the fastest growing animal production sector, and has been recognized as the only solution to meet growing demand for healthy and sustainably produced seafood. But of course, with a rapidly growing sector, some growing challenges come, and that's where our master comes in. Our master will train you, or tries to train you, to become an expert in this domain and to fulfill leading roles in, for example, scientific research that is related, or in policy making, or in the aquaculture businesses. Then our Master of Science in Pharmaceutical Engineering, some context here. Populations are aging. That is one fact. And on top of that, diseases are detected increasingly early in people's lives. So therefore, actually some new needs arise. The need for example, new types of medicines, or for more medication per capita, or for more personalized and targeted medicinal products. Accordingly, there seems to be a need for an interdisciplinary master program, a profile actually that brings together pharmaceutical and engineering competences. And that is exactly what this program has to offer you. And then the last one in this series, Ghent University wants to stimulate a switch towards reusable, recyclable, compostable, or biodegradable packaging, and wants to prepare students to become experts in sustainable food packaging systems. This master program brings together the three domains and prepares students to optimize or even fully design a food packaging system with a conscious choice of resources and production methods. It is what we call a master after master program. So having a first master degree is an admission requirement in order to apply for this program. It's also a modular system, so the program can be spread over several years if that would be interesting for you in terms of a job or something. Okay, this was an overview of our Master of Science programs in Belgium and Ghent. Let's have a look at some related scholarships. The first one is the Vlieg UOS scholarship. It is available for the Master of Science in Aquaculture that we saw some slides ago, and for the Master in Rural Development that will come later in the presentation. These scholarships are comprehensive, and they are provided by Vlieg UOS, which is an organization of the Belgian Development Cooperation. Unfortunately, well, it is open to many students, but unfortunately only from a defined list of countries that you can check on the Vlieg UOS website. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not for all nationalities. The scholarship itself consists of a monthly allowance of 1,400 euros, plus all program-related travel costs and travel costs to and from Belgium. Other scholarships. In the first place, there are top-up grants, scholarships provided by Ghent University. This is not a fully comprehensive scholarship, but it does cover a lot of the costs, actually. Students cannot apply themselves for this program, for this scholarship. So what you can do is apply for the program of your interest. And in a later stage, you can be nominated by the program in order to receive this scholarship. The same holds for the mastermind grants. You cannot apply for them yourself. These grants are provided by the Flemish community, so the Dutch-speaking community in the north of the country. This is not a. It's actually quite a limited scholarship, so it's partial. Then we have the Erasmus Mundus scholarships, of which my colleague will tell you a lot more later on. And then we have local other scholarship agencies. You can always take a look at our website, www.itc.ugent.be, in which you can find some information about the opportunities that we know of. It's also a good idea to check for possibilities in your own country. And in that respect, I would like to add all students who are interested to study one of our programs, we can only recommend you to look for funding or additional funding in other ways than the scholarships we offer. Of course, we are not fully aware of all the existing possibilities there are from all over the world. That is not possible, but we do have some information on the funds or on the scholarships that our students use to finance their studies with. This information mentioned here on the slide is based on what students let us know themselves. So we do not know any specific details about what these scholarships cover and if they are still open or not, but we would like to share the information with you anyway. So in the 2021 and 2022, for example, we had, as you can see in the list, 5 Colombian students coming with funding by ICTex and Colfuturo, and 2 Indonesian students with LPDP. From those 2, we actually do know that they're still open. In fact, UGent has an agreement with both Colfuturo and LPDP. But as you can see, also students from Central Asia or Turkey, Chile, Tanzania, Honduras, Liberia, and the Netherlands did find opportunities. So I think that's good to know. In those same years, we were notified about government scholarships by students from Finland, Germany, Japan, Liberia, and Myanmar. And if we go a bit further in time, we see also countries like Georgia, Vietnam, Japan, Mexico mentioned. So I would say it is definitely worth it looking for opportunities, and even if your country has not been mentioned on this list, because as we said, the information is not per se complete. Okay, then I would now like to give the floor to Mrs. Michelle Seck. Michelle graduated from our Nutrition and Rural Development program a few years ago, the program that we talked about some minutes ago. And Michelle saw her career take an interesting turn afterwards. So we asked her to share her story with you today. So welcome, Michelle.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thanks for the invitation as well. I'm very happy to share my experience, going from the master's program to where I am. So yeah, my name is Michelle. I'm from Malaysia, and I'm an alumni from the program that Lynn shared, which was on nutrition and rural development, it was called before, but I think now it's food systems, which is also quite a good name. I graduated about 3 years ago from the program, which also marks the 3rd year that I'm actually working for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Currently, I'm a consultant working for FAO, now currently in headquarters, working on an initiative called the Wolf Forum, which is the youth initiative of the FAO to create like a space for young people to engage in policy discussions and also allowing for inputs in international conferences, really trying to mainstream the youth perspective in international governance and also within the FAO. But I'll go on a bit more about the FAO afterwards as well. So I'm just going off the list that Lynn had asked me to share, which was the first one, which is like what made me decide, to first do the program at Ghent. So there were three main reasons why I did it. So first of all, I was first a student. Well, I graduated with a bachelor's in nutrition, in human nutrition for clinical nutrition. And from there, I really wanted to go more into the root causes of why we are seeing all this like diseases related to health, and really go into the core issues of, you know, policy making and the lack of attachment between agriculture and nutrition. So this was where the program was kind of really perfect, even from the outline from it. And now that it's called food systems, you really learn everything from, you know, farm to fork, actually even before the farm, because you learn also from the soils level as well in this program. So you really have this very systematic approach of understanding, you know, everything related to food systems, and then also having this kind of like little expertise everywhere about it, which allows you to really think about, you know, what are the issues and finding those linkages. In these international spaces, we always say that we have to break the silos between all the different areas, such as economics, nutrition, post-harvest. And actually, the program is actually really perfect for that, because you know everything about, a little bit about everything. So that was one part of it, which was to learn more about food systems and also this area of rural development. But besides the master course itself, Ghent University, or Ghent as a city itself, is also very impressive. There's a really green, sustainable aspect to it. And during my bachelor's, when I was doing case studies, research about it, we learned about like how Ghent has a very inclusive food city policy approach, which allows it to be very sustainable, linking very much to producers to consumers, and also it's one of the first cities to actually promote like a vegetarian day, which they promote in public institutions to have like a vegetarian diet. So in this sense, you already get an idea of how progressive the city is in terms of sustainability as well. And the third one was also all the opportunities that Ghent University provides. So I was very lucky to be one of the scholarship holder for I think the mastermind program, which really, I don't know, convinced me to do my master's program, which allowed me to kickstart. But also after graduating from the programs, at whichever program you do in Ghent University, you're also eligible to apply for the Flanders trainee program, which also gives you a grant, which actually give you a better price than a better salary than what normal internship programs would do, which also allowed me to kickstart my career in the international space, because they give an allowance, a very good allowance to work in an international organization. So it was really a no-brainer, let's say, to start my program at the academic in Ghent. So maybe to share like a bit like how it was, I guess, my experience in the university, because it's hosted in this faculty, which has this very international aspect. There's also a lot of international students around, but also very much international professors as well. There was no issue at all with the language barrier. English was widely spoken, and also you hear a lot of like different languages being spoken. The professors are really great, and in terms of my course, I think there was all of us came from different regions across the world, and also the professors really utilized this as well, which allows us they really promoted us to do a lot of group assignments together, where we also have to share the different country perspectives that we have, comparing our national food policies with each other, which also help promote then the global north and global south perspective to it, and also allows you to interact with a lot of different types of people with a lot of different backgrounds as well. Also, the courses are structured in a way that you also have shared courses with different master programs, so you're not only in your little bubble, but you also interact with like students from aquaculture, land management, and so on. Yeah, and then what else should I have to say? And yeah, how was the master's program in obtaining my position? Well, like I said before, like you have this very systematic approach. So after graduating from the master's program, I really want to continue deepening my understanding of policy making, and then Ghent being based in Belgium is where the EU bodies, where the EU Commission, parliaments are held. It was a really great opportunity there to work with the FAO liaison office to the European Union to really get a deeper understanding again of how policy making is is done, but also in the aspect because it's very international as well, because the European Commission doesn't only work in the EU, but also a lot on this international development space. So upon graduating, I reached out to the office. I said, I can bring my own grants. I'm interested in these topics. And from there, I was hired as a an intern for liaison and partnerships, where I work, where I engage very closely with different stakeholders that are based here in Brussels, trying to develop partnerships and programs with them as well. One of them, which was actually Ghent University, which now FAO and Ghent has a partnerships for, but also with the technical bodies of the EU. So there I was very much following closely the EU farm to fork strategy and so on. In this sense, because I have this systematic approach of how I do things, it means that I can also engage in a lot of different topics as well, which was very beneficial for FAO, because they can put me into different, I can try to brainstorm very well with different partners, and also, just having a conversation with them, or knowing like what the kind of questions to ask in the sphere, and also to note that when I started, I was the only person with a technical background in nutrition, in the sense that everyone else was dealing with has a background in international relations. So even there, you can also fit in doing this course as well. And yeah, I guess like for me, I'm only one of the examples of what you can do with the master's program. The different people from my course, they're doing a bunch of different things. I don't think there's a single person doing the same thing. You have people working on the field. I think one of them is working with Doctors Without Borders as a nutritional program specialist in Chad. Another one is in Sao Tome, doing a nutrition program there. I know many friends who continue doing a PhD, also within FAO as well. You see many alumni working there in all the different divisions of, like, even from forestry to marketing, trades, and so on. So even there you can see there's a lot of different profiles of what we work on as well. So there's really no you can do whatever you want with the master course, is what I'm trying to say as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's my testimony. I don't know if there's something I missed, but I leave it there.
No, thank you very much, Michelle, for sharing this story. Very interesting, and thank you. Let's move on then to the next part of the presentation. Aaron.
Yes, nice to meet you. My name is Aaron. I'm also a staff member of the International Training Center. We already discussed Ghent, Belgium, some of our master programs. The others will follow, and I will tell you something more about Ghent University. So Ghent University is a university with 11 faculties, so we cover almost all fields of study. And you can see in the right top corner of this slide, the Faculty of Bioscience Engineering. So this is one of the 11 faculties, and all the master programs that we show you today are organized by this faculty. So something about student numbers of Ghent University. So the total number of students at Ghent University is almost 50,000 students. And you can see that more than 13% are international students. So this is a high percentage of international students at our faculty. Also, currently 1,600 students, Ghent University students, are studying abroad, and more than 6,600 international foreign students are currently studying at Ghent University. So Ghent University offers quite some English taught education. So we have 3 bachelor programs we offer in English, but these bachelor programs are organized at our global campus in South Korea, because most of the bachelor programs we organized are taught in Dutch. But you can see that 73 of the master programs and 21 of our master, after master, or advanced master programs are taught in English. So this is a high number of English taught master programs we can, Ghent University can offer to international students. and also 2,250, more than 2,250 international PhD students are currently working on a PhD at Ghent University. You can also see at the right side of this slide that the disciplines of engineering and bioscience engineering offer by far the most English taught programs at Ghent University. So what about students' facilities that Ghent University is offering? We offer a sports center, we offer a sports center for students, student homes and accommodation, also bike rental services, and student restaurants where you can buy food at reduced student prices. And of course, there is study coaching. There are specialized student doctors if you would need them. Also, specialized student psychologists that are employed by Ghent University to service our students. And if you would want to learn some Dutch, or if you would want to improve your English language, then you can follow some extra courses at the University Language Center of Ghent University. So now I discussed Ghent University, but let's now focus on the Faculty of Bioscience Engineering. Remember, one of the 11 faculties of Ghent University. So this is a picture of our nice courtyard at the campus of the faculty. And you can see that we have modern and new buildings with modern architecture. And also we have historical protected buildings on the faculty. This building you can see is the main and oldest building of our campus. And as I already explained, we have this relaxing garden. And when the weather is nice in Ghent, people have their lunch or breaks outside. Even people organize meetings in our garden. And of course, we have state-of-the-art laboratories at our faculty, and a multifunctional library where you can, of course, consult books. There is also an online offer of scientific material and course material, but also if you are looking for a quiet spot to study, you can go to the library on our campus. And as it was already explained, Ghent is a bicycle-friendly city. So most of our students travel to and from the campus by bike. Okay. Then Ghent University and our faculty in international rankings. So you know that there are quite some international rankings of universities. And it was already mentioned that Ghent University is mostly in the top 100 or top 150 of most international rankings. And you can even see that our faculty, so in the disciplines of agriculture, life sciences, agriculture and forestry, we are even in the top 20, top 50 of these faculties at the universities of the world. So that proves that we offer high quality education and research. Then some more facts and figures. So 100 professors are working at our faculty. More than 650 other staff members are working at our faculty. We have around 3,000 students at our faculty. And as also already mentioned, 1/3 of those 3,000 students are international students. So we are the most international faculty of Ghent University. And of those more or less 1,000 international students currently residing at our faculty, around 220 are residing at our faculty for a short stay. So, for example, a one semester exchange. Around 330 are actually following a 2-year or 1-year master program at our faculty as degree students. And more than 400 students, international students, follow a PhD at our faculty. And some more graphs. So we have a nice gender balance among the international students of our faculty. 52% are female students. And now I see that some text dropped out of the slide. I don't know if it is also the case on your screen. So on the right graph, I don't know why I tested the presentation today and it was there. But the dark green area is Africa, and the yellow one is Asia, and the light green one is Latin America. So you can see that African and Asian students are more than half of the international student population at our faculty. To conclude about our Faculty of Bioscience Engineering, so we cover quite a lot of research areas. We start with the natural capital of our planet, and via sustainable primary production, for example, agriculture, crop production, animal production, we work towards food, to produce food and health for the human population on our planet. And of course, we all want to do that in a sustainable way via bioeconomy and green chemistry. And of course, we also apply clean environmental technology to protect the natural capital while exploiting it for human use, to make sure that the natural capital is protected, and in that way we close the loop. And then I will give the word to my colleague Jare, that will present the second part of our master programs, the Erasmus Mundus master programs.
All right, thanks a lot, Adam. I hope you guys can see my screen. I think normally that's not an issue. So as Lane already mentioned, and Adam as well, we have a number of programs that are organized here in Ghent, in Belgium. Besides these programs, we also have a number of programs which are organized with other universities, both inside and outside of Europe. So now I will talk a bit about those. Most of these programs are also Erasmus Mundus programs. So what is an Erasmus Mundus program exactly? It's a master program organized by at least 3 European partner universities. They offer joint at the end of the program. In our case, all of these are 2-year programs. So you start at Ghent University in most cases, and then you have to have at least 1 semester at another partner institution. So that's a requirement of the program. There's no Erasmus Mundus program where you can just stay at Ghent University. So you're always going to move around. Another positive about this program is that scholarships are available. So for the top ranked students that apply, they can be selected for an Erasmus Mundus scholarship. And that's actually a comprehensive scholarship that should cover all of the expenses for the program. So for non-EU students, this can go up to 49,000 euros, and for European students, up to 35,000 euros for the entire duration of the programs for both years. Everyone can apply for these programs, but the deadlines differ. So check the website for that. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but in general, the deadline is the 28th of February for people who want to apply for an Erasmus Mundus and want to apply for a scholarship as well. So looking at the distribution of these scholarships, what's included? So the tuition is actually included in the scholarship. So you don't have to pay any tuition. It's just automatically deducted from your scholarship. You receive a monthly allowance of 1,000 euros. And you also receive a amount of money that you can use for travel or installation costs. So for additional costs that you might have. You're also insured for the entire duration of the program. And yeah, there's no fee for applying. So you're not really missing out if you apply. It doesn't cost you anything. So I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in these programs to apply. So we've mentioned these are international programs. So what's the content exactly? The first program we're going to talk about is already a little bit of a curveball because this is an international master program in soils and global change, but they are currently not an Erasmus Mundus program. So there's only a limited number of scholarships. So what's the program about? Global change affects our planets in many ways, and this has an effect on soil. So we need experts who understand the interaction between soil and climate change, and then looking for strategies to actually heal and strengthen the soil again so that these can be used for agriculture, but also other other things that we need them for example, water management, etc. The partners in this program are Aarhus University in Denmark, University of Göttingen in Germany, and University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences in Vienna in Austria. And as I mentioned before, they don't have all of the Erasmus Mundus scholarships this year. So they only have a limited number of scholarships for European students. The reason for this is that they are currently in between two funding periods. So normally next year, they should have all of the scholarships available again, but this year there's only a limited number of scholarships. But a very interesting program, especially in today's environment. A second program is the Masters in Health Management and Aquaculture. So we've already talked about the Masters in Aquaculture. So you might wonder, okay, what's the difference between that master and this master? Well, the previous one is looking at aquaculture in general and, okay, how do you start up an aquaculture business, really starting from the basics. This is a little bit more advanced and goes more in depth into the health management of the aquaculture. So as a lot of you might know, we just passed 8 billion people, and all of these people have to eat. And seafood is actually one of the primary sources of protein for the world's population. However, due to overfishing, it's getting more and more difficult to actually catch fish. And aquaculture is a way to mitigate this issue. However, if you want to farm fish and you want to do this at a large scale, you're going to have issues regarding the health of the fish. So this is what the program is looking at. Okay, how are we going to solve these issues when we culture fish? So disease control, food safety, how do we make sure that these diseases don't come over or infect humans? And all of this in a sustainable way. So that's what the program is looking at. The program has 4 partners. So a partner in Norway, in the Netherlands, and in Spain. So as you can see, all of these partners also have a coast, which is almost essential for most types of aquaculture. And there's 3 learning lines with each a separate mobility. So you have ecosystems and health, which is a combination between Ghent and Norway. Disease prevention management and health, which is a combination between Ghent and University of Wageningen in the Netherlands, and physiology and health, which is a combination of Ghent and 2 universities in Barcelona in Spain. This program has the full offer available of scholarships from Erasmus Mundus. So as I mentioned before, any nationality can apply and can receive a scholarship. However, there are certain regions where the program has additional scholarships that they can offer. So if you're from one of these regions that are on the screen right now, you will have a slightly higher chance of obtaining a scholarship. So if you're from one of these regions and you're interested in aquaculture and specifically in health management in aquaculture, there's no better program in the world. All right. As Aaron mentioned before, in his cycle of resources here at the faculty, this program actually looks at a lot of different sections in that cycle. It's the Masters in Sustainable and Innovative Natural Resource Management. Quite a mouthful, so I will use the acronym SINREM. There's no such thing as waste, according to this master program. They see waste as a resource. The program offers you a broad overview of the entire value chain of natural resources, So you'll learn to develop different technologies to optimize flows of natural resources in different parts of the value chain. This includes mineral and metal resource exploration, for example, from your phone that you might have or a computer. So, okay, how are we going to get those metals out of there and reuse them so that they don't just end up in a landfill somewhere? So that's the main focus of CINREM. So one of their main focuses are those raw materials, so the minerals and metals, but also the processes to obtain those, and also circular economy. So there's 3 partners, Ghent University, Uppsala in Sweden, and Freiburg in Germany. And here you can see a bit kind of the cycle that CINREM follows. There are 5 majors in this program. So you have geo-resource exploration, that's with Uppsala University. So looking at, okay, how are we going to find those resources? Sustainable processes. So how are we going to process them sustainably? That's with the university in Freiburg. Then resource recovery and sustainable materials, which is Ghent's expertise. Then Ghent also looks at circular societies. As Michel mentioned earlier, the city of Ghent is very sustainable and progressive in this way and are contributing to these circular societies. And then finally, at Uppsala University, there's also a great focus on entrepreneurship and sustainable entrepreneurship. So kind of to tie all of that together from the resources to reusing and selling them in a business. CINREM has European scholarships. So they have Erasmus Mundus scholarships, but on top of that, they also have some EIT AVSA scholarships. These are slightly different than the Erasmus Mundus ones in that they are only partial scholarships. They don't cover the entire program. They just give you a contribution of 13,500 euros, which you can then use to pay the tuition and parts of the program. For European students, on top of this 13,500, the tuition fee is waived down to 2,000 euros a year. So that's a nice bonus if you're trying to find a way to fund your studies. But of course, just like the other programs, there are full Erasmus Mundus scholarships available. Just like I mentioned for aquaculture, the program has specific regions where you have slightly more chance of obtaining a scholarship. So the Western Balkans, for example, or low and middle income countries in Latin America. Again, if you're from one of these countries and you're interested in sustainable business and circular economy, this is the program for you. We're almost done, but we'll talk about the Masters in Rural Development. So this is a program that's very interdisciplinary, and it offers you the opportunity to specialize in rural development, but through one of the 3 sustainable development focuses. So either through economy, society, or the environment. It's inherently an interdisciplinary program, and the approach towards rural development is based on a close interaction between agriculture, food, and then also social sciences. As a graduate, this makes you an asset in many organizations, so both at the national level, but also international. I think also, like Mel mentioned, this is something that could be of value if you want to work at a large NGO or at the FAO, for example. We have 6 European partners, so Ghent, obviously, but also partners in France, Germany, Slovakia, Italy, Spain. On top of that, also 9 non-European partners. So we have partners in India, in China, in Korea, Vietnam, Ecuador, the USA. So a very large network of international universities work on this program. This program has, on top of the Erasmus Mundus scholarships, which all of these have, they also have the VLIR UOS scholarships. Leen mentioned this before. These are scholarships awarded by the Belgian Development Agency, and they focus on developing economies. People who apply for these scholarships have to be from a certain list of countries, which you can check on their website. And if you apply and get one of these scholarships, there's also a tailor-made track for you to go to one of our non-EU partners in these developing countries. Beside that, we also have a program where you can go for a double degree, and that is with our partners in Korea, in the USA, or in Ecuador. So there's a lot of options to learn about rural development and apply rural development in this program. Same story as before. We have the full available Erasmus Mundus scholarships for all nationalities, but again, if you're from these specific regions, so ENI East, which is Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldavia, and Ukraine, or the Western Balkans, you have a slightly higher chance of getting a scholarship because they have scholarships available specifically for those regions. We're almost there. This is the last program, the Masters in Environmental Technology and Engineering. Environmental pollution, it's a complex and unfortunately growing problem. Through the Environmental Technology and Engineering program, you will learn to develop, design, and apply techniques for the prevention and remediation of environmental pollution. Very similar to the program that we offer here at Ghent. The difference is that this is organized as a coordinator by the University of Delft in the Netherlands, together with the University of Chemistry and Technology in Prague, and with ourselves, of course. The management of the program is hosted by Delft. So if you want to apply for this program, you have to go through their website. But again, a very good program with a strong focus on environmental and sustainable development. That was it for all of our programs. I'm not looking at the chat, but I see that Aaron is working towards answering for you guys. So if you have any questions about those programs, just drop them in the chat. I will now quickly talk about how to apply for these programs, which I'm sure some of you will want to do and may be interesting. So before you start applying, a few things to check. First of all, check the requirements of your program. As we've mentioned before, these are different programs, often organized with different universities in mind. So the requirements will be different. Make sure you check that. Someone who applies for a master's in rural development or a master's in environmental technology, yeah, we will need very different backgrounds for those two masters. So make sure you check the requirements before you apply. In case of doubt, you can always contact us at applications.itc@ughent.be. You can apply even if you're still in the last year of your bachelor. So if you're only going to graduate later in 2023, as long as you graduate before September 2023, you are eligible to apply for our programs. When I say check requirements, that also goes for language. Generally speaking, we require a TOEFL between 86 and 90, or an IELTS between of around 6.5. But again, these differ per program. So make sure you check the small letters, you check and make sure that you check what the program requires. For almost all programs, you do need some form of English certificate to apply. And the internet-based tests that can be done from home, for example, for TOEFL, for many of the programs, they are accepted. Okay, so that's before you start. Now, let's say you check those requirements and you say, yes, I want to apply. Until when do you have the time? So applications are already open since October, they were open. And there's two deadlines. The first deadline is the 28th of February 2023. For who is this deadline? This is basically for everyone who is not living in Europe at the moment. It's also for everyone who wants to apply for a scholarship. So the scholarship application, it's integrated into the application for a program. If you apply for a program, you will have the option to apply for a scholarship for that specific program. It's integrated into the application. So even if you're a European student who can normally apply a bit later, if you want a scholarship, the 28th of February is your deadline. For all European students that are not looking for a scholarship, there the deadline is the 31st of May. So because they do not have any visa requirements to come to Europe or to come to Belgium specifically, they have a bit more time to apply. But of course, if you miss the 28th of February deadline, no scholarship application possible. The results of the scholarship selection will be around the end of April, beginning of May, depending on which scholarship. The Erasmus Mundus scholarships are usually communicated around the end of April. The BLIR US scholarships, so the ones from the Belgium Development Corporation, are communicated the beginning of May. Same thing here. If you have any questions, applications.itc@ughent.be. All right. One of the things that we would also like to quickly talk about is the career path that students can follow once you study here. So I'm just quickly checking whether one of the other speakers is here today. Leen? No, okay. So one of our other students that was going to talk today is not here, unfortunately, but we'll quickly have a look at what the options are once you graduate. So why would you want to study these degrees? The first is research and education. As Michelle mentioned before, a lot of the students that do one of our master programs do continue on in academic research, so doing a PhD. But also research at governmental organizations. So that's either here in Belgium, but also abroad. Okay. Policy is another important career path. So that's basically what Michelle is doing right now at the FAO, working governmental, national or international NGOs or the private sector. Consultancy, it's something also strong at in the private sector, but again, also in NGOs or governmental bodies. And finally, we do push students towards entrepreneurship and management as well. That can mean starting your own business or working at a business to improve it. And we have students at different scales, starting their own very local business or working at multinationals. So these are kind of the career paths that you have. And again, it depends on the program that you follow, where you can end up. But I believe that there's a lot of options once you follow one of our programs. I've heard that Mayra is here at the moment. Okay, Mayra, sorry for skipping you earlier. I would like to give you the floor, so maybe you can say something about the program that you studied, which was the International Masters of Soil and Global Change, correct? You can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, I think you can hear me now, right? Can you hear me now? Yes, perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. So great to see so many people trying to get a master in science in Europe. I'm Mayra. I'm from Argentina. I did my master in soil conservation and global change. I started on 2020 and I finished this year, 2022. in July. My master was a little bit different from maybe other experiences because it was in the middle of the COVID, so that gave some other challenges. But definitely was a great experience. The application was quite easy. I just basically did my English exam, prepared all my papers, and then I applied. I am a natural resources engineer, so I wanted to continue learning and focusing on different natural resources. So I checked soils. I really liked this master because it was in 2 countries, Belgium and Denmark. So I did my first year in Belgium, my second year in Denmark, where I finished my master's thesis. And I can tell you that Belgium is a great country. Ghent is a beautiful city, quite small. You can bike everywhere. The shops are quite close. People are very kind. Everyone speaks very good English. So it's really easy to make friends. And in Denmark, it's the same situation, just a little bit norther, a little bit colder, but it's also a great experience. And I really recommend you to do this type of masters because you get in touch with a lot of different cultures. You really learn a lot in these 2 universities. They're great quality of education. The teachers are very well prepared. So it's definitely an asset for your future career path. In my case, I got a PhD in the north of Denmark in Aalborg. Right now I'm working in another natural resource that is fresh water. So water, I changed a little bit from soils to water, but it's still in climate change. That is what I want to work in my future, in the different areas of my career. Also, I had the chance in Belgium to have an internship in a company. So I also was able to see the private sphere, not only the academic sphere. So definitely this is a great experience. I got friends for life. And I think even with the COVID, it was incredible to be in another country, learn another language. I did a class, like I took a course in Dutch, and then I took a class in Danish. So I know a little bit of both languages. And I think your mind just explodes with so many experiences, so many cultures, so many people that you really get to know people from other areas. One of my best friends, she's from Kenya. Never in my life have I ever met anyone from Africa, from Kenya. And I think it really, really helps you to become a better person to experience this kind of thing. So I really recommend it. If you ever have any questions, you can also look me up. I'm most social media. You can say, I think you can see my name here in the camera. It's Mayra Darre. But otherwise, you can always ask Aaron if you have any questions, if you are doubting because of the money. I definitely recommend it. I think it's a great asset for your career. What you learn in these 2 universities, it's way more than you think. You really become a professional and you can continue in the academia or in the private sphere, whatever you want to do, but it's always a good skill, definitely. So yeah, I think that's my experience. Very, very successful, to be honest, even in the middle of the COVID.
All right, thank you very much, Mayra. Okay, so that was it from our side, from the presentation. Now I would maybe like to go over some of the questions that you have asked, and I would like to point out some of the more interesting ones and kind of give the answer to the entire group, so that everyone, knows what we're talking about. So one of the first questions that was asked was regarding housing in Ghent. So the question was from Guanlin Wang, what the status is in Ghent regarding housing. So how easy is it to find a place? The last few years, it has been more and more difficult for students, especially international students, to find accommodation in Ghent. However, it's not impossible. A lot of our students are currently staying in Ghent, and unfortunately, some of them are staying outside of Ghent and commuting to Ghent due to the low availability of housing in Ghent. So it is an issue. But the university and the city of Ghent are looking for solutions to this, and I don't think this should stop you from trying to apply or come to Ghent. Most of the students who apply on time and start looking for a place to stay on time are able to find a place in Ghent, but it is something to be aware about. So thank you, Guanlin, for that question. So quickly going over some other questions. So there's a question on the admission for the aquaculture course. I'm not going to go into detail for the admission for each of the programs, but I would suggest to just check on the website. It's very detailed there, which kind of subjects you need, how much chemistry, how much maths you need to have done to be able to apply. So for Surya, I would highly suggest just to check the website there. Okay, here's a question from Indri. For final year undergrad students, is it possible to apply for master programs with a transcript only? And what, when do they have to show their official diploma? So as I mentioned in the presentation, yes, this is possible. So let's say you only graduate in August, right? And right now, all you have are your transcripts from your first 2 years and the first semester of your final bachelor years. With those transcripts, you can apply. So there's no issue there. The only thing is, once you get your final diploma, you will still need to bring that with you to Ghent, and also send us a scanned and legalized copy of that diploma before you come to Ghent. So you're still going to have to do some work, that last month before coming to Ghent when you get your diploma, but there's no issue in applying, and you can get your admission letter just on the basis of your third year transcripts. Okay. So another question is whether Ghent provides online master programs. We do not. So all of our programs are full-time attendance. You are required to be physically in Ghent or physically at the partner institute in the case of Erasmus Mundus programs. So an online version of the program that was only done during the COVID period for in case it wasn't, no other options were available, but in general, all the classes are here on campus, so they are not online. Okay. Okay, so Eduardo, he says, I think I saw that the requirements indicated in the application procedure aren't that specific. Is there any way to get more detailed ones? So normally all the information that you need is on our website or on the program specific website. And also during the application, you will be required to upload certain documents to prove those requirements. So normally all the information should be on the website. Another question from Flora. If you studied in English in your country, so in her country, for example, is Nigeria, do you need a test of English results to apply? So Flora, this again depends on the program. Most of the programs, you still need an English test. Some, just a few of the programs, they do accept language of instructions, but most of them you will need an English test, like a TOEFL or an IELTS test, to apply, regardless of whether or not you studied in English before. A question on whether there's an age limitation for the Masters in Rural Development. And probably also for the broader masters. So there's no age limitation for application. The only thing to take into account, if you're applying for a program that has a VLIR UOS scholarship, so the scholarships awarded by the Belgium Development Corporation, so those are the aquaculture program and the rural development program. If you're applying for those scholarships, the maximum age limit is 35. And I think also for some of the mastermind and top-up grants that Ghent University offers, there is an age limit. But in general, for application, there's no age limit. So you can apply regardless of your age. There's a question here from Royd about the food technology program. So this program is organized by Ghent University and the University of Leuven. His question is, will the acceptance letter be issued by Ghent University? So in the case of the food technology program, the acceptance letter is issued by the KU Leuven. So they are the main coordinator. You will apply on their website and they will issue the acceptance letter. So if you have any specific questions, I suggest you contact them regarding applications, specifically for the food technology program. All right, I think one last question. Does Ghent have a preference on what the English test results are like? So whether it's a TOEFL or an IELTS test, there's no difference. You just need to meet the requirements for that program on the website. So if you meet one of those requirements, there's no issue. For example, I don't think any of our programs accept Duolingo tests. So make sure you just check the list on the website, and in case of doubt, just send an email to applications.itc@ughent.be. Okay. All right. I think that's it for the questions. And now we will close the meeting with a short word from Wim Hoste, head of the International Trading Center.
Okay, thank you, Jaren. First of all, I would like to apologize. I was a little late, but as it should be for an international team, I'm currently at Astana Airport in Kazakhstan, and there were some issues to connect to the Wi-Fi. But I was very happy when I popped in this meeting that I could see that there are so many people from all over the world that are maybe thinking of joining us in Ghent to start your future as from next year with one of our master degree programs. So I hope that this webinar was very informative for you and that you got all the answers on the questions that you had before, and that we could trigger you to at least and as soon as possible start your application. I'm very happy to see all these people, and I was also surprised that you had very interesting and very specific questions, which means that you are really interested, really good preparing what you are doing, and that is really, really important, and it makes me really happy to see that. I will take the opportunity, of course, to thank my team for the preparation of this webinar, especially Leen that took the lead in the webinar, but also all the presenters, especially Jare for guiding you through the webinar. Might be the last webinar that he will do for my team because he is leaving within a few weeks, unfortunately. If you have further questions, don't hesitate to send us an email with your question. We will try to answer your question as soon as possible. Yeah. So don't hesitate. We are here for you, waiting in Ghent for your questions. Well, note that due to the huge number of applicants that we have, There might be a little delay in answering our questions the next few weeks, but we'll do our best to answer your questions within a week, at least 2 weeks. But please don't hesitate. If you're really willing to start the application and you want to apply for a scholarship, start as soon as possible so that we can check your credentials, check your degree and your language certificates. So again, thank you for being here, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing you next year in September. And then I can refer to this webinar and say, okay, I've met you there, and now we meet again in the beautiful city of Ghent. So thank you very much. Good morning, good noon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thank you for being here. Bye.